sun rises, you get some shadows that come up from the side. And slowly the sun comes up like this and gets to above your model. Okay, this is how we typically view our models as being lit. So you can see on these two models that have been primed, the very top, if you look at them from the top down, they look like they're primed just in straight white. But when you look at them from underneath, you can see that there's black and gray and gradients of, from black to white, depending on which way the sun would be hitting them. Zenithal priming is basically a way to mimic the sun coming down, and it helps you to be able to see where your shadows will naturally lie. You can see on this guy, his head is hanging over. Okay, so it's forward. So you would expect the sun to come down here and hit these areas very light and bright. So the ridge above his eyes is very bright. But in his eye sockets, you can see there's a lot of shadow. Again, underneath his chin, in his mouth, those are pretty much pure black. Whereas you've got some shadow, some gray gradients down here. It's really pronounced on the back because this tree has bark for skin. And so you look at him this way, very, very white, leaning forward as the sun catches on the back here. It transitions to black, all the stuff that's underneath. And so when you're first starting out, if you do this with the rattle-can, it will really help you to learn about your highlights and your shadows, where they should be on that particular model. One of the things that early painters sometimes do is they will put highlights in areas that are raised on the model, but not necessarily where a highlight should naturally be. And so this is just one method to look at a model and say, okay, the top of this knee right here will have a highlight because you can see that it's, light on the top and dark on the bottom. But this knee, not as much. It's less bright than this knee is. I mean, you can definitely see that the top of it is, going to be shaded, or the bottom is going to be shaded, and kind of the angle, because of his leg, it's not going to come across his knee this way. It's going to come more this way. And so you can see that just by the position of his leg, your highlight will be in a slightly different area than you may think initially when you're starting out. You can see on his helmet, this side is very bright. This side is going to be a little bit more shadowed. So this is really a tool that can help you when you're starting out to learn about highlights and shadows and where they fall naturally on a model. So now we'll go over how to do this on this one. Okay, so the first step is to prime the model with black or a dark gray. In some instances that would be good too. When I prime stormtroopers, I don't start with black. I start with Mechanicus Standard Gray out of a rattle-can, and then I work up to mid-gray and then skull white. Because it's winter and it's cold outside, I'm going to be doing this with an airbrush, but you can do it just fine with rattle-cans as well. Okay, so I have already, like I said, primed with this black Vallejo primer. Next, I'm going to put on a layer of the Ghost Gray primer. And when you do this, you want to angle it down from about a 45-degree angle and focus mostly on the top parts of the model. So kind of that is going to give you your natural way that the light is kind of falling on it. And I'll show you in just a second how it just go light, take your time, don't get in too much of a hurry. So you can see, looking at it from this angle kind of down, it does look like it's all primed gray now. But as soon as you tilt it, you see, oh hey, it's got transitions and, you know, it's going to black underneath. You know, everything inside its mouth there is all, you know, black, and everything underneath it is black. So now what we're going to do is we're going to use this white primer, but we're going to go straight from above, just straight down, and you'll see that in just a second. Okay, now this step, it's really easy to overdo it on this. Okay, when you're spraying straight down on the model, it's important not to get super close like this. I'm just holding it here so it's on camera and you can see it. I'm actually going to be holding a fair about 3 or 4 inches away. And it's important to just go really light on this white layer, because trying to get nice transitions, and if you go too heavy, you see how fast that's going. If you go too heavy, then it's easy to ruin your transitions from white to gray. So I'm only spraying directly down, not at an angle, only directly down. And so it works the same with the rattle-can as it does with the airbrush. So you can see from the top, he looks like he's primed in white. From the side, he looks, you can see the transitions. From the bottom, the transitions stand out even more. One of the places where you can really see the transitions is here on the mouth, where it comes across to the side over here by the teeth. You can see the ridges really start to pop and stand out. Now, the other thing, besides teaching you how, you know, where the highlights and shadows will be, this is a form of pre-shading. This next step can technically be done with a brush, but it's much easier with an airbrush. Okay, so I have primed this spoon so that it is, you know, white primer, gray primer, black primer, just like I've done here. The transitions, because they're more gradual on a model, don't show up as easily, you know, to see on camera as with nice harsh transitions like this. So I'm going to put some red paint into my airbrush and show you what pre-shading looks like. Okay, so pre-shading, what we've done here. Okay, so it would look like this, you know, where your white primer is up here at the top, your gray primer is in the middle, and your black primer is on the bottom. Okay, so if you're going to apply very light coats, you can get some of this shading coming through. I'm going to move him out of the way so I don't get overspray on him. So you can see the more opaque, the more translucent my paint layer is, the more you can see the pre-shading. Okay, so you can see that will show through if you're using thin layers. Now, some people don't like that. Some people like to use very opaque layers. Okay. And if you do that, the more opaque your layer is, the less benefit you're going to get from pre-shading. Okay, you can see clearly, you know, I put a nice opaque layer over here. It's not showing through. I mean, it's going to be a very smooth layer. You know, don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with an opaque layer that's nice and smooth like this. But it's just that if you want to take advantage of this pre-shading technique, you have to be willing to go with thinner layers. I mean, you can get thicker than what I did. I went extra thin just to show, you know, but you know, you can still see, even though I put on some more, you can see that there is, you know, a gradient there, especially between the gray and the black. So that is the other benefit that you get from zenithal priming. If you're going to do thin layers like here, you can get some pre-shading in and have those highlights and shadows start showing through your base coat layer and really get a jump start on painting your model. It is not a be-all, end-all. You're not ending up with a finished model after this point. You know, you can see this Blood Angel Space Marine that I've started with this technique. And you can see that even on his over here, you can see that the red is slightly darker underneath than it is up here where I had the white paint. So it's just a head start. It's like I've already done my first layer of shadows on there. So there you go. That is zenithal priming. That is how you do it, and some of the benefits of that you can get from doing zenithal priming. So if you like this, go ahead and like it and subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to put up a lot more stuff and make it useful and interesting. You can also come over to my website, paintyourarmy.com, where I have more articles about how to do different things with miniatures and painting them. Going to be adding a lot more articles very soon, and I hope that you really enjoy them. Leave some comments below if there's anything in particular that you would like a tutorial on. I might bump it up in the list. All right, thanks, and we'll see you next time. Bye.